Depression is a mental health condition that remains widely misunderstood despite its prevalence. Almost half of us will experience depression at some point in our lives. However, due to the lack of a thorough understanding of what depression actually entails, it often goes unrecognized or is misdiagnosed, leading to ineffective treatment methods. One of the main challenges in addressing depression is the tendency to confuse it with sadness. While the two may appear similar on the surface, they are fundamentally different. And this distinction is crucial in ensuring that people with depression receive appropriate care. This piece will explore the critical differences between sadness and depression, explain why depression is more complex, and look into potential causes and therapeutic approaches for helping those affected. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss out on future videos. The misunderstanding of depression. Despite its prevalence, depression is often misunderstood or seen as just an extended period of sadness. Nearly half of the population will experience depression at least once, yet many people, including those affected, struggle to define what it truly is. This misunderstanding leads to depression being treated as if it were sadness, a simpler, temporary response to specific life events. Sadness, for instance, is something we all encounter. It arises in reaction to specific causes, like the death of a loved one, the end of a relationship, or a setback in our careers. It's easy to understand and recognize sadness because it's tied to identifiable events that evoke it. Depression, however, isn't always triggered by a particular event. Unlike sadness, which has clear causes, depression can emerge without any obvious reason, making it more challenging to diagnose, empathize with, and treat effectively. Depression versus sadness, understanding the key differences. At first glance, depression and sadness may look alike because they share certain visible symptoms. People with both conditions may cry, withdraw from social interactions, lose interest in their usual activities, and experience feelings of emptiness. For example, someone might say, "I'm sad because I lost my job," or "I'm sad because my friend has been distant." With sadness, the person understands the source of their feelings and can explain it. Depression, on the other hand, does not have such a direct link. Depressed individuals feel a deep sense of emptiness or hopelessness without always being able to pinpoint why. They may not be able to articulate a specific reason for their low mood, which can make their experience more isolating and confusing. The challenges of explaining depression. The difficulty in articulating the reasons for their depression often leads others to doubt the legitimacy of a person's condition. Friends, family members, and even mental health professionals may mistakenly believe that the individual is exaggerating or seeking attention. Those affected might also question their own experiences, feeling guilty or ashamed for not being able to explain their pain. Brain chemistry and medication, the common approach. In recent years, it has become increasingly common to attribute depression to brain chemistry. This perspective is appealing because it suggests a straightforward solution: medication. If depression is caused by an imbalance of chemicals in the brain, then theoretically it can be corrected with the right pills. This approach is attractive not only to pharmaceutical companies but also to families, schools, and employers seeking quick, efficient solutions. Medication can indeed be helpful for some people by providing short-term relief from symptoms. However, viewing depression solely through the lens of brain chemistry can be limiting. Pills might improve mood temporarily, but they don't address the deeper underlying issues that often fuel depression. While medication may offer relief, it's rarely a standalone solution and should ideally be complemented by therapeutic approaches that encourage self-reflection and emotional exploration. The role of psychotherapy in addressing depression. An alternative approach to understanding and treating depression comes from psychotherapy. Unlike the brain chemistry model, psychotherapy posits that depression often has an underlying cause, something buried deep within the mind that the individual has difficulty facing. According to this view, people aren't depressed for no reason, as it may seem. Instead, they may be dealing with a painful reality that's too overwhelming to confront directly, so their mind represses it. This repressed issue continues to affect their mental state subconsciously, leading to pervasive feelings of emptiness, hopelessness, and detachment. Psychotherapy aims to bring these buried issues to the surface, allowing the person to confront and process them in a safe environment. Why the true cause of depression is often hidden. For many people, the actual source of their depression is so distressing or conflicting that they unconsciously forget it as a coping mechanism. Facing these truths might feel too devastating, so the mind creates a shield of numbness to avoid the pain associated with full awareness. In this way, depression can be seen as a kind of memory loss, where the mind chooses to overlook painful realities. Instead of feeling sadness directed at a specific event or person, they experience a generalized numbness as if life itself has lost all meaning. By forgetting the true cause of their distress, individuals with depression protect themselves from unbearable pain, but they also prevent themselves from finding resolution and healing. Potential underlying causes of depression. So what are these hidden causes that might lead to depression? They vary widely, but some common examples include unresolved feelings about significant relationships, doubts about one's identity, or unexpressed anger toward a family member. A person might be struggling with the realization that their marriage is deeply unsatisfying, or that they have never been true to their own identity. Alternatively, they might harbor anger toward a parent who neglected them emotionally during childhood. These issues are difficult to confront because they often contradict the person's sense of stability, self-image, or worldview. To avoid the pain of facing these issues, people may unknowingly choose to remain in a state of depression rather than deal with the associated insights. The lack of self-insight in depression. One of the challenges in treating depression is that individuals may not even realize they are lacking self-insight. They don't consciously recognize a gap in their understanding of themselves. Additionally, they may be influenced by the modern view that depression is purely a medical condition, leading them to dismiss the possibility of psychological exploration. This medicalized perspective can reinforce a sense of helplessness, as the individual may feel that they are at the mercy of brain chemistry rather than their own unresolved emotions. Self-esteem in depression versus sadness. Another significant difference between sadness and depression is how each affects self-esteem. Sadness, even when profound, is often related to external events and doesn't usually diminish a person's sense of self-worth. People who are sad about losing a job or going through a breakup don't necessarily feel like they are personally flawed. In contrast, depression is often accompanied by intense self-criticism, guilt, and shame. Depressed individuals may believe they are inherently unworthy or incapable, and these feelings can spiral into self-loathing. This negative self-perception is a central feature of depression and can lead to thoughts of suicide in severe cases. Understanding this distinction is essential in differentiating sadness from depression and offering the right kind of support to those affected. Anger turned inward, a source of self-hatred in depression. Psychotherapy suggests that much of the self-hatred seen in depression stems from anger that has been turned inward. When a person is unable to direct their anger toward its true target, whether it's a partner, a parent, or someone else, they may begin to direct it toward themselves. This internalized anger leads to self-blame and feelings of worthlessness. For instance, someone who feels rejected by a partner might struggle to acknowledge their anger and instead conclude that they are unlovable. By turning anger inward, they avoid the potential conflict of expressing it outwardly, but at the cost of damaging their own self-esteem. Mania is the opposite extreme. In some cases, depression is accompanied by an opposite but related mood, mania. Individuals with manic depressive tendencies experience episodes of euphoria, but this euphoria, like depression, is often disconnected from a true understanding of their emotional state. Mania can appear as hyperactivity, excessive talking, impulsive spending, or other forms of escapism. These behaviors serve as distractions, preventing the individual from facing underlying feelings of grief or anger. Just as depression masks unresolved sadness, mania can mask unresolved pain, pushing the person further from self-understanding. Conclusion. Understanding depression as more than just sadness can pave the way for better support, empathy, and treatment. While sadness is tied to specific events and can usually be resolved over time, depression is a more complex condition rooted in unresolved emotional conflicts and repressed feelings. Through therapeutic approaches that encourage insight and self-reflection, individuals with depression can begin to confront the underlying issues affecting them. In this way, they can transition from a state of generalized despair to one of clarity, acceptance, and eventually healing. By acknowledging the differences between sadness and depression, we can create a more compassionate and effective approach to supporting those affected. If you found this video informative, make sure to give a like, subscribe, and press the bell icon so that you won't miss out on any future videos.